Welcome to CONVO, a live stream podcast about the intersection of creativity, art, and new technologies. Each month, we bring you 2 episodes featuring compelling and knowledgeable guests who are at the forefront of these exciting fields. I'm your host, Mark Rodito. Let's dive into this episode. The punk spirit is thriving in Web3. Artists and hackers are experimenting with this new substrate powered by decentralized internet building blocks, which enable new aesthetics and ways of experiencing music and culture. Communities like Lexicon Devils and their show series Forming use these tools and more. While I have yet to experience these digital shows myself, I spent some time exploring their catalog of shows, all documented on YouTube, and found myself feeling inspired, hopeful, and nostalgic. Early net communities like SPF 420, Maltene Records, and Zoomlens, all of which I was a part of at some point, embraced lo-fi aesthetics, pop culture kitsch, and gaming culture, all blended into a massive soup of new aesthetics that only the internet can spawn. In my mind, Lexicon Devils and their series Forming come from that lineage of passionate and resourceful artists with strong DIY spirit, using new tools available to them. I really appreciated how the Lexicon Devils crew document their existence as they go, asserting that, yes, we are here, deal with it. I think we have arrived at a new Schelling point, and it is a pleasure to have one of the key members of Lexicon Devils, Forming, a Songcamp community member, and Chaos alumni, Darby Trash, on the show today.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Hi. How's it going? I'm good. Chilling. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's I look forward to these live streams because I don't know, I take away a lot from it, learning from my peers, and at the same time also, getting to know my friends.
Cool. Yeah, because this is the third one you said?
Yeah, this is the third one.
Cool.
We had Niche, Losing My Ego.
Yeah.
And then Dadabots for second, and then and then here you are, the third one.
I'm honored.
The pleasure is mine, dude. So Darby, to start, maybe for people who are not familiar with you, or your work, would you mind giving us a bit, a little bit of an intro about yourself?
Yeah. So in this space, I go by the alias darbytrash.eth, and I am it's always so hard.
Yeah, I know, dude. Yeah,
but I am a DIY punk Web3 enthusiast, and I've been involved with playing in punk bands and booking within the DIY community for 15, 16 years now. So been mostly based out of Seattle for most of that, but as y'all know, music is a global thing. So I've been around.
It's amazing because and thank you for that. It's been amazing because I think our connection point is that we both come from punk scenes and DIY scenes. To see someone who has the same sort of background and journey, participating and playing around with Web3 tools.
Right.
I don't know. It gives me joy. I feel like I'm seeing a comrade, out in the world,
No, totally. I mean, that's how I felt. I remember when I first started engaging with Songcamp, and when we first started becoming closer, I was like, fucking market. You know? I forget. I think it was like one of the calls. You said something about like, oh yeah, just destroying my ears with like hours of blast beats, and I was just like, what? You too?
Yeah, it's quite fascinating. You know, it just reminds me of Dadabots too. Previous guest. You know, I think very much into like extreme music, of course, punk, included, hardcore, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, I think, you know, initially when I was sort of like researching for guests on the show, the project Forming, also like Lexicon Devils stood out to me as sort of like exemplars of artists, a group of artists, sort of like using these new Web3 tools, you know, to propagate their art, or at least their opinion of the world, you know.
Right.
And so I wonder, dude, if you could give me maybe like an overview of of who Lexicon Devils are, what they are, what you all do, and also possibly if you could touch on like Forming also.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so Lexicon Devils, I mean, that's just our crew, you know. That's kind of, it's like I think there's about, I mean, we have like the core collective is like 6 of us, and then our like extended family is like obviously bigger than that, but like pretty much, yeah, like Lexicon Devils is all just a group of friends who we've all known each other like for a long time before Web3, and all kind of like slowly have been kind of like you know, like Peace Note. I mean, Peace Note's the, you know, who's Songcamp. Oh, you know, Songcamp OG. I mean, he really kind of like, you know, he got Germs into the Web3 space, and Germs got me into the Web3 space, and you know, so that's kind of like the, you know, Peace Note was definitely like the germ that planted the seed,
the germ,
the disease, you know.
and also Lexicon Devils or Lexicon Devil is a track of Germs too, right?
Yeah,
the band Germs, right? Yeah.
And then I mean, it's all just Germs reference. You know, Darby Trash is obviously a reference to Darby Crash. Germs.eth is obviously a reference to Germs. Lexicon Devils Forming. It's just, you know, it just kind of, it started to stick, you know, we're like, oh, like, let's just use a bunch of Germs references. But anyway, yeah, so basically Lexicon Devils is just kind of like the crew, and then Forming was the program that we begun. And kind of how that evolved is, Lexicon Devils. So before I even got involved with Lexicon Devils, they were just hosting like metaverse parties. Like they were just like, oh, let's kind of like, we'll, you know, make like punk clothes that people can wear in crypto voxels, and let's like have punk imagery and punk, you know, like have that kind of like DIY. Like
I feel like I remember seeing that. Is Samsonite part of the crew also?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Samsonite's definitely like in the crew, but not as definitely an extended family. But like Void and Cross, who kind of like really started the kind of like the brand of Lexicon Devils. But like, and a lot of early Lexicon Devil stuff was like his art, and like he designed the website and just kind of all this stuff. But basically I got involved because I live with Germs in real life, and they all went to NFT NYC, not last year, but the year before.
Okay. 2021?
Was it? I can't remember when it was.
22? Anyway.
Maybe it was last year. I can't even remember. But it was like, but basically Peace Note was crashing on our couch because we've known Peace Note forever. And they'd been kind of doing this Lexicon Devils thing, like, oh yeah, we're just like hosting parties and crypto voxels that would have like a DJ. Just, you know, it was like pretty low key. And I was and they'd been trying to get me to make NFTs and try to get me involved in it for a while before that. But I was like, oh, I don't know, you know, because it's hard to onboard people.
Yeah.
And then they went to NFT NYC and they came back and they were telling me about it. And it like I just got so excited because I just saw the possibilities, you know, like I just was like, oh, we're at like the foothills of like a pretty insane like cultural revolution, you know, like the way that they were explaining being in New York for NFT NYC made me think of like what it must have felt like to be like going to CBGB's in like 75 or so, you know, like, oh shit, like I'm like, there's something happening right now. There's like a big shift happening where like, and so I got really excited and I kind of was like, damn, like, and I used to run this, I used to have like I used to run this punk zine, this VHS zine where I would film punk bands and put it out on a VHS tape and then I'd interview them afterward. Yeah. It was called Tape Appeal, and it was basically I was like modeling it after like Target Video. If you've seen any of that stuff, it was like that dude, he was like he was based out of San Francisco and he had a big warehouse and bands would play and he'd film them, then he'd interview them and tons of punk bands. Yeah, it was really cool. But obviously it was like really, so then I was like, damn, like what if we started filming punk bands and playing it in the metaverse, you know, like what if that was how we started to do this? If like I have a big studio, bands could set up and play and it can like, and we can project it in, you know, in CryptoVoxels and people can come out, hang out, see some punk shit, you know? And yeah, and we only actually did that once because it was like, it's fucking hard to
oh my God. I can't even imagine just the production overhead too.
Oh,
that you're filming it, you're setting it up.
Dude, that's the thing, like was zero funds, you know, like our budget was like nothing. So I'm like, okay, like I'm just going to have my iPhone and like, you know, and like the bands are going to set up and I'm going to like have Twitch on my iPhone and just hope it works. And it didn't really.
I mean, you just make do with what you have, you know?
Yeah, no, totally. And I was like freaking out. It was like, I just was like, I don't know, because there was like this crazy lag and then we had to redo it. And then I had to like, I stopped the stream and like, stop to the band. I was like, start over. Like, I got to use just the webcam on my laptop because like there's too much lag with the webcam, you know, it was just like,
God, yeah.
So it was just, but I don't know, it was super fun. That the band was called Cyberplasm. They're based out of Olympia, Washington. And they were the ones that played. They were like our only friends that were like down because like one of the people in Cyberplasm is like a Lexicon Devils like extended family. So like we were like, dude, do you want to do this? And he was the only person who was like, fuck yeah, Cyberplasm, I'll do it. Because everyone else, I'm like, hey, can I just like, because at that point, Lexicon Devils had like a treasury. So we were like, hey, like, we'll pay you if you let me stream. And people would be like, oh, what's it for? And I'm like, oh, just, you know, don't worry about it. And then they'd be like, okay, what? And then I'm like, oh, we're going to play it on this platform called CryptoVoxels. And they were like,
crypto what?
Yeah. Oh, we're good. So Cyberplasm was the only one that I would agree to do it, you know, and I totally get it. Like I said, I mean, everyone has their own journey. I was right there for years, for like long time before Peace Note and Germs were like, dude, make an NFT. And I was like, oh, I'm good. You know, so it's like, I totally get it, but that's why we began. So forming became the way that the forming functions now is from just having our meetings to just kind of like brainstorming. We eventually finalized on the idea of being like, oh, people could submit content, you know, like people can. It's
almost like the lineup is crowdsourced, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And that way we don't have to have like, that way we didn't have to issue with like streaming and having like to hear it with live bands. And so, and I still like host it live. So it still has this like live atmosphere, but the edit's made. And then I was like, oh, if it's an edit, we should have fun with it. Let's do like MTV kind of style, like skits, you know?
Yeah,
and so, like,
I love that. Yeah. I think that stood out to me. Like for forming shows, for people who are not familiar, I think the way, correct me if I'm wrong, Darby. So please, it's like, so there's, it feels like a show in the sense that that there's like skits in between, there's like talkovers in between, there's like banter in between, and then performance, and then another banter section. It's like, it's really cool, and it's like accompanied by all these like really wacky visuals. And it's sick too. I just love the aesthetics of what you all have done. It's like to me, it's like a combination of like different sort of like styles of like there's a touching of like gaming culture. There's sort of like an incorporation of like punk aesthetics. And
right.
It's so sick. It's so sick.
Yeah, and the part that's a shame though is that I wish that I feel like we do have all these different like cultural touching points, but I wish that people knew about it. Because that's the whole thing. I'm like, I agree with you. I'm like, oh yeah, it has like these punk ethos. It has these Web3 ethos. It has these like gamer, like, it has like sketch comedy, it has always like, it's a very like, there are like lots, I don't know, there's lots of people who I could see really finding interest in it, but it's just hard to like get. And that's kind of where we're struggling. That's like where we're kind of struggling right now. Like, how do we get more people there? How do we get more? Because it's like our attendance has like doubled, but like, I mean, like, but gone from 20 to 40, so it's like, it's not like, and so I don't know. So it is an interesting thing because it's like, okay, how do we do that? Like, how do we have this really cool idea and this really cool show that we all really like and have a lot of fun making, but like no one knows about it, and so
that's always the hardest thing, right? Like promoting it and marketing it.
Right, because none of us know what we're doing, like, I mean, that's the whole thing. It's like, we're a bunch of just degenerate punks, like, who are like, oh yeah, you make the flyer, and if people come up, if people show up, they show up. If they don't, I don't know, so it's like none of us know how to like build a brand and market it and stuff, like we just know how to like play in our punk bands and release records and make flyers and
totally. And I think that's already sort of like a big starting point, a big step, right? Gradient in the chats says that maybe you should offer free samples, like Darby samples. Like, I think he means audio samples of your voice.
That's funny. I have thought about, I was gonna actually, when I was doing Camp Chaos, the way that I was functioned, like oftentimes, pretty much almost not all the tracks that I did, but I think 2 out of 3 of the tracks I did, we basically used my guitar like a sampler. Like, I would like send whoever was the producer riffs that I'd be playing, and they would just basically like chop and screw them. So we were all joking like, oh shit, like Darby Trash sample pack. Like, then, but it's definitely, it's on, I mean, it's still the way I'm interested in, but it's so, I wish I had unlimited time to do everything and unlimited energy.
I mean, dude, I think for people tuning in, for people listening on the podcast, Darby is a member of Chaos, the headless band. And, the track that you made, I believe it, Anatu and with Jen Morel, really stood out to me. It's a personal favorite of mine. Because I think for people who don't know, Darby is also an amazing guitarist.
Thank you.
Along with all these other expressions that you have, a tattoo artist and also,
right.
Yeah.
It's it's hard. It's really hard to I don't know, like, it's hard to manage we're kind of just in this like standstill a little bit, where it's just like, okay, how do we keep growing this thing, and how can we make this like sustainable, because it's like, I don't know, it's getting to the point where, like, it's one thing to, I don't know, passion projects are great and stuff, but it's like, it's hard when it's like, I don't know, it's like, I'm like busy, like, it's
always a challenge for like any sort of a creative endeavor, right? Like, how to make it sustainable in the sense that you can keep on funding these projects.
Right.
And
right. 'Cause I mean,
yeah,
that's the whole thing. It's like, it's like, it's hard. What like to find that. Yeah. Like to make it sustainable. Right. Like, it's a lot of work,
it is
like
a lot of work. Yeah.
it's a lot of work. And so, yeah, like, and so with forming, it's like we, just trying to find ways that like, it's sustainable for all of us, that we're not all getting burnt out, that we're not like, that we still have time to like do the other things we want to do, And so it's like, it's just really, yeah, it's hard. And so we're kind of still figuring that out. Like we're like, okay, like how can we keep growing this? And how can we like how can we keep growing it and maintain to do it in a sustainable way that works for everybody?
Yeah. Yeah. That's always a tricky thing to balance, right? Like,
yeah,
I think on the one hand, I think Lexicon Devils and Forming have provided a space for like a new experience to unfold.
Right.
But then at the same time too, it's also like, well, how do we keep this going? Right. Like,
right.
Especially because, well, correct me if I'm wrong. It's like, there's a certain intimacy and nicheness to it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, I don't know, like for me, one thing that makes it special to me is that because it communicates, or at least it resonates with people who are like me, Is it something that you think people of all walks of life or of all stripes would enjoy? I don't know. I'm not sure. But certainly for people like me, who like, experimental shit, yeah, absolutely, 1000%.
Right.
So I feel like even with that, there's already that sort of like first block, that you can sort of like, and I don't know. There's also like something about, and this might be different from say funding, but there's something about growth for growth's sake that doesn't sort of like maybe align with me that well, or doesn't resonate with me that much.
Right.
But yeah.
I mean, I don't think we want to grow just for growth's sakes. I think we want to just grow just because like we all, I mean, I don't know, like I think we all like what we're doing, and it's just like I was saying, you were like, oh, it taps on all, like we were talking about, it taps on all these different cultural points, and it's like, okay, well then like, and why is it all these people who are, I don't know, then like, yeah, it's like, why then like, then what? Where's everybody then? And like, and so I don't know, and we're still figuring it out. We have another, the community low effort punk. Have you seen those NFTs?
No, I have not.
Oh, they're pretty funny. They're just like, he's literally redoing the whole punk collection, the crypto punks collection.
Okay.
But like low effort. So it's like each one's like, he's like, yep, I do each of these in like under 5 minutes. And, they're all just like clones of, but he's created this whole, the low effort community.
Okay.
And so there's like all these different, there's like all these different NFT collections. They're doing like the low effort version now, where they're basically just like really shitty bootleg clones of all these like really expensive popular NFT collections. And so
I love that.
It's really funny. So it's like, oh yeah, you get to own a crypto punk, but it's a low effort crypto punk. I
love projects that poke at like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's what his whole thing is. He's like, each done under 5 minutes, not a care in the world, and like, and then, but it's so funny because that dude specifically is so, they have a pretty strong presence. We're kind of stoked to work with them because they're also like crypto voxels, like OGs, like they have a really strong presence in them, in that space. So we're like stoked to work with them because we're like, but even that, I mean, it's like, it's so funny because it's like, that dude is like it's so funny because it's like, oh yeah, their whole shtick is like low effort, but I mean, it's like fine art, like it's like the thing, it's like abstract fine art. Like you look at it, you're like, this is a bunch of scribbles, But
I mean, it's like, the concept, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but he's done so much that it's like he literally like if you go to I don't think he's been as active in voxels anymore, but it was like you go to his like his voxel parcels, and like there was such an insane attention to detail that I was like, this is on some like big brain shit. Like this is 100% fine art. Like this is like every little bit, like, I don't know, like, I don't know. They have this joke or they like, I don't know. It's like, I can't even, it's just funny. They like have a fake juice that they drink, and he built like a factory in crypto voxels for the juice that they drink that was like Willy Wonka's factory, but like for God juice, which is the, you know, and like, it's just memes on memes on memes. But anyway,
memes, yeah. Totally. I love that. It's like that punk ethos, you know, with your example of like low effort crypto punk.
Yeah,
it's like
right.
There is, I don't know if you share this too, Darby, but to me, punk is really sort of like using what you have, you know, being resourceful, expressing whatever opinion you have or taste or aesthetic, and doing it in a way that's sort of like, okay, I'm just gonna ship this. I'm gonna ship it. That's not to say that it doesn't care about quality, because like you said, you know, there are folks who really care about quality.
Right.
There's a certain sort of like, I don't know, man, like it's like, okay, let's record a demo, whatever. Okay, release it, you know, 7 inch, you know, whatever. You know, it's like, and I love that. I love it. And I think I see, you know, that's not to say that Forming and Lexicon Devils, how you do things are exactly like that. No, it's not.
No, but, I mean, it's
there.
Yeah.
It's
definitely pretty lo-fi. Like, I mean, we definitely like, it's like, I mean, all those like bids, you know, like those, all the takeaway scenes and stuff are just like literally like me in front of a green screen. It's like Extine filming me in front of a green screen in Germs and I's living room. Like, it's literally just like, it is like lo-fi, like it is low budget. But then Extine, who's such a Extine's so talented. She makes all these like 3D models and stuff. So it's just me in front of a green screen, and I just go to like, I'll go to the fucking, you know, I'll get a wig and put it on and be like, oh, I'm a news anchor now, you know? And then she'll like, we make it, and then then she'll, a couple days later, she'll be like, what do you think about this? And it's like a full 3D environment that she has rendered like around me. And I'm like, holy shit, dude, how did you do that? And her like directing skills are really good. Like, it's just, you know, she like is so good at like capturing. Like, I don't know if you saw the floppy. I think it was the third volume, the floppy one. Like, I mean, she just nailed it. Every one of those, like the Maury bit, the fucking like all the just like the editing she did, she just absolutely like crushed it, you know? So it's like, it's such a treat to work with Christine and like make all this fucking, you know, just make all this stupid fun content that sandwich it between like Web3 centric artists. Like, it's fucking sick. I'm like, this is badass.
It's sick.
You know?
I love it. I mean, like going back to your point about like lo-fi, you know, lo-fi aesthetics. I think lo-fi is a style. It's an approach. Yeah. It's a sort of like a an aesthetic, and also it's also practical too. Like, I remember when you know, a few of my friends, you know, because they don't own DSLRs, you know, and you could easily pick up, you know, I don't know, like these like old VHS cameras. To shoot a music video. That's what they started using. And then now, fast forward, I don't know, 2020, 2021, you know, that lo-fi grainy effect, and people actually buying you know, like old cameras to actually shoot stuff. It's sort of like, before that's what we had to do. Now it's like a style.
Yeah, you know totally. Yeah. I know, it breaks my heart because I'm like trying to buy a goddamn fucking TV VCR combo and I can't fucking afford it. I'm like, this is bullshit, you know? Or trying to buy a 4-track. Dude, I record everything analog. Like, all this shit that I've ever recorded is all analog. And like, I mean, it used to be like, you know, you used to be able to fucking find 4-tracks all goddamn day for like fucking $50, you know? Now it's like an arm and a fucking leg, you know? It's like, like
because everyone wants it.
Yeah, right. $300 for this fucking Tascam Porta Studio, 4 parts as is. I'm like, you can kiss my ass. Like, fuck no. But it sucks because I'm like, damn, that's my machine though. Like, that's what I know how to use, you know? And so, Gradient
in the chat says that you should join the dark side. Go digital.
I mean,
But
I would honestly, like at this point, I'm not even like opposed because I know that there's so much cool shit that you can do with like, you can get anything to sound however you want it to. But like at this point, I just know how to fucking use my 4-track, you know, like, so it's like, it seems really daunting to like learn how to, I don't know, to learn how to like, like it works for me. It's like, I'm like, oh, I know how this thing works. I know what to do, and I know how to get things to sound the way that I want them to.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, I think to me, Darby, you have both foot in the analog and the digital, right?
Yeah.
Like, there are some parts of your approach that could be analog, and there are parts that are, I mean, Lexicon Devils and Forming is very digital. You know? Right. So, both can exist, I would say.
No, yeah, totally. And that's what I got. Well, I mean, when I was doing Chaos, I was like, shit, man, I gotta get a fucking interface. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, I was like, how am I supposed to like? And it was one of those. I was just, because I used to, you know, there was a minute where I was so. There was a minute where I was just like almost exclusively like I'd record all my shit and then I would just mix it down to a master tape and then I would just dub tapes for that master tape then sell cassette tapes at shows, you know? So there was like a minute where it's like,
that's okay.
There were no computers involved, you know? And not because there wasn't digital technology at the time. Obviously, I'm not old, you know? I mean, you know, and like, but so it's not like there wasn't, I just did it. It wasn't part of my, I don't know. It just seemed, and even that still, it's like, I have like a nice computer now, but it's like, oh, I'm like, I look at like Pro Tools and shit. I'm like, what the fuck? You know, like, I'm like, GarageBand's good enough. You know,
There's a certain simplicity too, to like their analog devices. Yeah.
Well, right. And that's the thing. And now even that I like record everything analog and then I'll just dump it on the computer, you know, but I pretty much like do all my recording shit, like, you know, with just my 4-track and
Yo, dude. I mean, you know, I certainly, I love those like analog versus digital conversations. But I think where I stand right now is like both are valid.
And I mean, at the end of the day, they're just tools, right?
They're just tools.
It's just tools to get you. And sometimes I'm like, man, my life would be so much easier if I just learned how to fucking use a digital recording software. You know? But then other times I'm like, no, I analog all the motherfucking way. You know, it's just like, it's just, you know.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, I credit a lot of things to like, I use this metaphor a lot. I'm like, oh, you know, cause I use like, I don't know. Oh, you know, it's like your Prius versus your Chevy pickup. You know, it's like obviously your Prius is a better machine, but sometimes you don't want the better machine. You know, sometimes you want the Chevy pickup because it's got the vibe. It feels the certain way when you're driving it. You know, like it's like, your Chevy pickup gonna shit the bed and you gotta fucking fix it all the time. But like, I'd rather have the Chevy pickup than a Prius all goddamn day, every day. You know?
Okay. Here's my question to you. Using that analogy, right, of the Prius and the Chevy pickup, where do you think, because to me, like say, for example, like the way that I sort of like is visualized in my head is that the digital is Prius, the Chevy is the analog, you know, or let's just say IRL, whatever.
Yeah, sure.
And so Forming is the Prius. Maybe.
Right.
And Chevy is, say, a show, a DIY show, for example.
Yeah.
But in my head, you know, Forming as a show series and say a DIY show is still sort of like, at least in my head, the same experience to me because they both have an opinion.
Totally.
They both have a certain aesthetic to share or a message to share.
Right.
But in your head, is that true also in your head? Like, is it the same? Like, how do you frame this? Because like, I know that you have a lot of.
Yeah. So my whole thing with this is, I think that this is an argument that comes up a lot of the time. especially when you start talking about metaverse or hyperverse or virtual experiences, people are like, people get really scared because they're like, oh, like, I like live shows, man. Hey, I like live shows. I'm like, yeah, me too. Like, I'm not saying that I don't like live shows. I'm just saying, like, if it's fucking Friday night, you're dicking around on your computer, like, pop on over to the gig. You know what I'm talking about? Like, exactly. I'm not saying like, don't stop going to shows. When like Lexicon Devils or Forming or any of these virtual experiences, the intention's not to replace shows. It's just like, it's just another resource and another tool to use to experience art with your community.
Yes.
And most importantly is fucking pay the artists who are involved, you know, because I mean, that's one of the things that I love so much about, obviously, like Web3, DAOs, you know, like all this stuff. I mean, it's like decentralized. Like this shit's punk as fuck, you know, like this shit is punk as fuck. And it's cool. It's like, it's transparent, you know, it's like, there's no bullshit. There's not like hundreds of people at the door and the fucking promoter's like, oh, here's $200. You're like, hey, motherfucker, like, where's the money? You know, like, it's like, you want to see where the money goes. Check the ether scan.
Check the ether scan.
Right there, you know, like you can see how much money came in and where it went. You know, you're like, oh yeah, we deposited 2 ETH into the fucking juice box and it got dispersed this way, 20% each artist here. You know, it's like that was a really big reason why we wanted to do Forming too, because we were like, oh, we want to be able to like showcase artists and pay them transparently, you know? And I mean, and that was even the thing with my experience with Songcamp doing Camp Chaos, like the live payouts, we do that with Forming. And that was kind of something that I was like, oh yeah, that was so exciting when you hit the pay button on fucking Chaos. Like I was like on tour, like looking at my phone, like, let's go. You know? And so that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Even like that in itself, I was on tour with my IRL rock band on looking at a live stream of like getting paid for this virtual songwriting workshop I was part of. You know, like it's just different tools, you know, like they're not, you know, it's like, just like finding, like, we're not trying to replace live experiences. We're just trying to,
it's another avenue. And also like you using the tools to actually transparently pay and see where the value flows.
Well, dude, it's so silly too, because everyone's so like, you know, it's like people aren't like out here like, oh, Instagram, I'm good. I like real life. You know, it's like, no, motherfucker, like you're on Instagram all the time, you know, and like I'm on Instagram all the time too. I'm not like hating. I'm just saying like, dude, like you could just fucking, you're chilling Friday night, nothing's going on. You know, it's 3:00 on a fucking Friday afternoon and you're looking at Instagram. It's like, you can hang out, see some band bullshit. And all the time, usually we would do Forming on like Fridays or Saturdays. And all the times I would go to a real live show afterwards. Like I'd be like, oh, hey, got to break out of here. Y'all like got another gig, you know? And like, sick. So it's like, it's just, I don't know. Just more shit.
I love that. I mean, dude, like, so you mentioned about, you know, transparent payments and paying artists and all that stuff. And I know that Forming and Lexicon Devils has a relationship with Juicebox.
Totally.
So what does that relationship look like? I know that Juicebox is a protocol, right?
Yeah. So basically we started using Juicebox to do it because it's just super easy to like I know that Songcamp usually uses like OX split, but like, and I'm not super familiar with like the back end of OX splits, but if from my little knowledge of what they do and what the possibilities of with Juicebox can do too, it's pretty similar, right? Like you can set up a Juicebox project and make the payout structure. My mom's calling me. Sorry, Mom, can't talk. I'll be like, whatever. I'll say anyway.
Juicebox.
Yeah. So it's basically like you can start a project and then anyone can like contribute to the project, and then you can set up like the percentage of in what wallet addresses you want to send it to. And so it's just a really cool, like easy, transparent way to like virtually pay people, you know? And yeah, and so we've been crewed up with them for a minute now. They originally hired Lexicon Devils to build them. We got hired as like a commission to build them like a virtual headquarters in Voxel.
Oh, cool.
So it was like they just saw, and this was before we were doing forming. This is before we were doing shows. This is when literally we were just like making wearables and like having little like get-togethers in crypto voxels, you know, and like DJing punk music and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, this is cool. Y'all have this kind of like, are on this like underbelly of kind of culture, like, you know, do you want, and you do this thing, like, and they were like, oh yeah, like, they hired Lexicon Devils to like build them a parcel in voxels. And then that slowly just like, oh, do you want us to have parties here? Like, hell yeah, have parties, you know? And so we just like, and so we actually were on payroll to like curate events for them.
I see.
Every episode, every volume of Forming thus far has been at the Juicebox headquarters in Voxels. And so, yeah. And so that was just, we were basically like on payroll to curate virtual experiences and utilizing their protocol as a way to like, just, you know, showcase how it can be done, you know?
And I also noticed, Darby, that you and the team also collaborate with other organizations and collectives too.
Yeah.
All Stars is one.
Yeah.
Songcamp.
Yeah.
Who else did you all collaborate with?
We have done, because the first, sometimes we'll just do like open submissions, like, hey, submit if you're involved in just Web3, and then we go through them. But we started doing this thing. Floppy was, I think, the first one where it was like, basically we would like invite NFT communities to like curate the show and to curate the lineup. So we're like, oh, like, you know, for example, like, oh, Songcamp, like you figured out all the submissions, you know, like have a call to arms for like your community, like, hey, who wants to be a part of this? And then like they just, it kind of as a way to like branch out and onboard more people, you know. The All Stars one was really fucking cool,
it's
you know.
Cool. Yeah, it's freaking
yeah, the All Star one, that one was like a huge, because that's what we were stoked, because we're all Star collectors, like everyone in like the Devils. Yeah, totally. Like I love that series. I love that collection. And so we brought it up, and we were like, and they were super down. We were like, fuck yeah, you know. And they were just stoked too, because it was like, you know, I mean, we deliver, you know, like they were like, holy shit, y'all really are like fucking going for it. We're like, yeah, fuck, like that's what we do, you know.
It was so hyped, dude. Like I was so hyped, just like watching. Cool. I wasn't even there, you know. I was just watching the YouTube reruns, you know. Right. And then I was just feeling it. Like earlier this morning, man. When I work out, I just play the playlist, Forming playlist, and it's amazing. Yeah. And then those bits in between.
Yeah. That was a really fun one. I really liked that. And like just the actual party and the experience with the party was really cool. Like the stage layout and the wearables. And cause like Wacko, who's like our Voxels designer, made wearables for your Voxels character that were modeled after All Stars. So everyone everyone had like voxelized version of their All-Star characters.
It's like raver gear.
Yeah. Oh man, that was fun. That one was really fun. That one was really, really cool.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of in this, and this is kind of speaking of like sustainability and like the future of forming and stuff, is that like I was saying, like we were on payroll with Juicebox. Like they were basically paying to like continue the program running, and like that relationship, that relationship with Juicebox has ended. So now it's the kind of like, now we're kind of like venturing. I mean, we're still going to use Juicebox because it's like a great protocol and it works really well for exactly what we're trying to do with this. Yeah. But like, Forming is no longer like sponsored by Juicebox. So now we have like, so now we're just kind of trying to find like, where is funding going to come from? And if it doesn't come, what is that going to look like? You know, like, what is the bandwidth that we have to like, you know, what is the like, how can we do this sustainably? Like, how can we do this in a way that we don't get burnout, that we're all not overexerting ourselves, that we're able to focus on our own, like, you know, careers outside of this, and also like, but still engage with it enough to the point that we can continue growing it, you know? So, cause it's hard. Cause it's like, you know, it's like, I don't know. It's like, I mean, I'm a fucking business owner. I fucking have a tattoo shop that I'm starting. I like, so it's like, it's hard, right? You know, like, and the same thing with Christine, the same thing, like we all have our own, obviously we're super down and stoked on like Forming and we want to keep doing it, but it's like, okay, where do we go from here? You know, like, you know, cause before it was like, it was sustainable to focus all my time on Forming because I was getting paid, you know, like, and now it's like, okay, well, if I'm not getting paid, I definitely have some time to focus on Forming, but I can't focus as much as I was doing it. And then, so it's like, okay, well, like, what is that going to look like then? Right. You know?
Yeah. I mean, that's real. That's real. Bro.
Yeah, 100%. Because I'm like, man, I fucking love making art with y'all. I love curating a show. I love, like, I was, you know, you don't have to fucking pay me to fucking get in front of a green screen and make jokes. Like, fucking, I love that. You know, I couldn't believe that I was getting paid to do that. You know, like, so, and I was saying that the whole fucking time. I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, they're paying us to do what? Like, goddamn, this is awesome. You know, and then it was like, but then it sucked. It's like I think we do have, like, I think there is a really cool future for Forming and for that style of programming, you know, like so we're kind of, totally. And like what we were saying, you know, it's like, there's so many cultural touch points that like if we found a way to like brand and market ourselves to actually reach all those cultural points, we could, you know, but it's like, it's just finding out how to do that. And especially finding out how to do that when now there's no more money coming in as an incentivized to put time into it, you know, like that's what you know, that's what I was saying. It's like, you don't have to pay me to make jokes in front of a green screen. Like, that is fun to me. I will just, if you set up a green screen and say, hey, be a dumbass in front of this, I'm like, hell yeah, you know, like, but then it's like, oh, if you want me to like send out emails, ooh, you know, like, I'm not going to pro bono send out emails. I'm not passionate about, like, I'm not, you know, so it's like, so then it's like finding people who know the space that will pull the weight in. I don't know. It's like, and it's like this weird standstill because I'm like, if we keep making content, I think the funding will come in. But I'm like, okay, well, we need funding to keep making content. Fuck.
It's the chicken and egg sort of thing. Yeah,
totally. 100%.
It's quite fascinating, dude. I think that's a complex sort of like situation right there, right? Like you said, like you want to keep on doing this stuff, but then there's also all these like competing priorities. Too. You know, your own art, your own business,
right?
And then, yeah, man. You know, certainly, I offer no solutions there.
No, I know.
Or ideas, but I think when you touch on something like when you said, oh, let's keep on making content, let's keep on doing stuff, let's keep on forging on. I wonder how that would look like in the future for you all. But certainly there's something there too, because already Forming has sort of like, it's almost like the way that I see it, it has already a certain message in a certain style that resonates with folks. And I want that to continue, really. You know,
I agree. And I also honestly think that like the show, honestly, I think that there's a potential like freeing element of us not being like sponsored, you know, because like I think that we there was a certain expectancy to like pump out content because we were getting paid, so I think that there was a lot of calls that I think that we made that wasn't necessarily like in the best interest of the show, but just kind of being like, oh, we have a deadline that needs to be met, like,
right.
So I definitely think that there was some compromises that we made in quality that like didn't necessarily have to be there. And so I actually am kind of excited to kind of see the future of it, because I'm like, oh, we might even be able to have more of an authentic and more of a curated experience.
I love that framing. When you said that this might be, we were talking about the challenges of having this kind of project, but then I really appreciated how you're reframing it into like a positive light, where it's like, this could be an opportunity to maybe, not to say that it was inauthentic before, but more so like really stretch our creativity.
And totally.
And really express ourselves truly,
Right.
I mean, an idea that comes to mind for me is like, what would it look like if Forming was, instead of like monthly or whatever cadence, it could be it could be like like once every 6 months sort of thing. Like a festival or something. You know what I'm saying?
That's definitely something that we were talking about, of being like, okay, like, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And having like making a new volume of Forming, having a new program every month with the limited resources we have is super complicated. And so like, but I was, hey, this is a lot of work, but like it's my job. I'm getting paid. It's a cool job, so I'm just like, whatever, but then, and it is interesting, because it's just like, there are lots of, like, I don't know. It's interesting. It's just, because we have tons of support from Juicebox. It's just, it's a DAO, people vote and people have, and just, we wanted to keep curating with them. And I think a lot of Juicebox wanted to keep curating with us, but it just didn't pan out that way in the polls, which is fine. I love decentralized. I love decentralization. I love being a part of a DAO. I love that, so I'm not mad at it, but it does kind of complicate things when we've had consistent funding for a while, and we've been able to like grow and build this program and kind of curate a vibe and a virtual experience, and then all of a sudden the funding stops. So it's like, okay.
It's jarring. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And especially, just like we all still feel passionate about it and want to keep doing it, but it's like, okay, how do we find ways to do this in a sustainable way?
Yeah.
So
maybe there's an opportunity there to partner with other DAOs or other collectives.
Yeah, no, totally.
Right?
And that's the thing. I mean, it's like, but once again, it's like, it's just, that's a lot. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to like, and especially right now with like bear market, it's
oh my gosh. Yeah.
Like,
that too.
Everyone's fucking hurting. Everyone's hurting.
Everyone's hurting. Yeah. Everyone's tightening their belts. And it's funny when you said like, going through that proposal process, I remember Peace Note posting, something on the Songcamp server about this meme of this, like, here's what it looks like to submit a proposal to a DAO, and it's like a video of this guy doing a dance in front of a girl, it's sort of like, yep, that sounds about right.
I know, and it's like, it's like, I don't know, I get it, and I totally like, obviously, I'm like, and it's like, it's just funny, like, to be kind of like, oh, like. I could especially just bear market. I mean, fucking like, I don't know, the year ago, fucking ETH was like $4,500, so it's like, you'd get paid like a fraction of an ETH, and you're like, now it's like, it's not like that anymore. You get paid like a full ETH, and you're like, hey, this seems a little light, And so if a DAO's treasury is in ETH, it's like, woo, that's not looking good, like. This is a well that's going to run dry, like when it was when ETH was popped off, it was just a drop in the bucket, but now it's like, oh shit, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I totally get it. I get everything. And it's like, and yeah, like I said, we all feel passionate about it and like what we're doing and want to keep doing it, but just trying to find ways. We're doing it. We're still collaborating with people, and we're still curating with people, and we're still like I said, we have a program with LEP planned, you know, and that's going to be really fun. And LEP has a pretty loyal, NFT collector base. Yeah. So I think that we're going to make a LEP forming collab NFT that's going to go into the juice box. And so that way,
that's cool.
I think that's going to be a way to fund stuff. And then maybe that could be like a model moving forward, you know,
there you go.
You know, yeah. Like maybe we don't need a sponsor. Maybe maybe it could just be crowdsourced, you know?
And it's like bootstrapping from the ground. Yeah. I think that's something that I think even outside of Web3, right?
Yeah,
from like putting on shows myself, you know, and along with my crew, it's like we never broke even, dude.
No,
it's just like, you know, but yeah, man, but then at the same time too, like it doesn't have to be that way, you know, it doesn't have to be that way, you know?
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, if I was a little bit younger, I wouldn't give a fuck, you know, like, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, yeah, I've been booking punk shows, like I was saying, for like 15 fucking years, you know, and like, and I never made any money doing that, you know, like, sometimes I'd pay myself the $20 that I had to pay at Kinko's to fucking print the flyers, but it's like, I wasn't like paying myself to run sound or do door. It was for the love, you know,
you just do it. Yeah.
It was to host my friends who were on tour, you know, and then when I was in their city, they'd do the same for me, you know, that's how it works. But it's like, I don't book punk shows anymore. I'm too busy. You know, like when people hit me up and say, "Oh man, like we're coming through. Can you book us?" I'm like, "Oh, hit up this 20-something-year-old. Oh, like, this dude's really young and super stoked. I'll see you at the show, but like I'm not gonna book it anymore because like I have shit to do, you know, and like, and that's just where I'm at in my life, and that's just where, you know, not to be that guy, not to sound like a fucking, you know.
No,
but
it's just like, real, bro. Yeah.
It's real as fuck. Yeah. I'm a fuck. Yeah. It's like, what? I'm not the oldest, you know, I'm 31, you know? So it's like, but I'm like a 31-year-old adult who like, I don't want to wash dishes anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it's
totally.
Yeah. It's like, absolutely. It's like, dude, I don't want, like, I want to have a fucking, I don't even want to bartend anymore. Fuck that. You know, like, it's like, I'm like fucking, I don't know. It's like, okay, it's, you know, it's like, yeah, I want to tattoo. I want to hang out. I want to fucking, you know, I don't know. It's like, yeah, I'm like a self-employed artist. I'm fucking busy as fuck, you know? So it's like, I'm sorry, I don't have time to book the show anymore. You know?
No, 1,000%, man. I think the older you get, your priorities shift. You know, of course, the same passion still exists there, but the way that you act on it becomes different. Yeah,
right. And that's the whole thing. It's like, oh yeah, it's like, but then it's like, you know, I have, like I was saying, it's like, yeah, I don't have the space to be consumed by certain things anymore, but I definitely still have the space for it. You know, I still have weekly band practices that I'm not like, you gotta pay me, motherfucker. You know, like it's like no, I go to band practice because it's fun and I like it. And
I think that's healthy. I think there are things that we do for money. There are things that we do just out of love. You know,
right.
Totally. I have a question for you, Darby. Since you know, Forming is a Web3 native project, you know, using Web3 mechanics and all that stuff. How can Web3 or its tools or its ethos enable more experimental projects like Forming, for example? I think the obvious one is funding, yes. But then is there anything in the tool stack, or at least like in our current understanding of this technology, that you think might enable more projects like Forming?
Yeah. I mean, I just think I don't know. It's hard to envision. It's hard to envision, like, you know, like what the future of it's all going to be, you know, and there's all the conversations, you know, cause it's like, oh yeah, like this is a great payment structure, you know, utilizing like Juicebox or OX splits or some sort of like protocols to like split payment among artists are a really cool thing, and could, you know, they have utility in the real world too. So it's like an interesting like thing of like, what would that look like, right? Like verging. Thus far, all these protocols are in a Web3 or in a virtual space, but it's like, you could fucking do the same thing with a real venue. You know, like,
yeah, that's true.
You could say, hey, like, you know, connect your wallet and buy your ticket, and then we'll split it, OX split live on a big projector at the end of the fucking event.
Yeah,
you know, like,
yeah.
You know,
I think some of our neighboring collectives have already explored that sort of like
totally
tie in between Web3 tools and also live experiences. Totally. Yeah. I think the recent one that comes to mind is like FWB Fest.
Okay. I know that, like, and we've been talking about that for fucking months, like with Juicebox people being like, when's a live forming happening? When's a live forming happening? And we really wanted to do it, but we just like, it never ended up really happening. I mean, it's just like, it's just so much work to orchestrate and to organize, you know? And like,
I feel like live events is like a different beast for sure.
Yeah. It's hard. Right. I mean, and that's one of the things that's appealing about, you know, like I was saying, it's like, oh yeah, like I'm fucking, I don't know. It's, you know, I'm chilling at the gig, like, you know, in my pajamas, you know, like I'm not
that's
leaving
best,
I'm not leaving my desk, you know, I go to the gig, then hop in bed, you know?
There you go.
But, no, so I don't know, but I definitely have thought a lot about that, and just also, I don't know. Yeah, it's cool. I'm really excited. There's a couple, I'm kind of going on a, not a tangent, but like I'm kind of going off, like just where this is taking my mind is that like, I think that there are ways to just completely fund yourself as an independent creative with these, you know, I mean, you know, you've made NFTs and stuff, you know, I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's like it's like if you're in the right place at the right time, you can have a fucking track sell for like 1-2 ETH, you know, it's like, that's fucking like better money than I've ever made playing music doing anything else, you know, I'm talking about, and like, I mean, that's good money, right? You know, like I tell people like how much I got paid for Chaos, and like, and even like in the grand scheme of things, like how much I got paid for Chaos, like wasn't a lot, but to me, it's a lot, you know, I mean, it's like, I don't have a lot, you know, it's like, and so, and I've never really gotten paid, you know, it's like, I don't know. So, but I was like telling people how much I made, and everyone's like, oh yeah, I was part of this, like, you know, experimental like songwriting workshop, and people were like, oh cool, like how was that? I was like, dude, it was fucking sick. And they're like, how much you have to pay to do that? And I'm like, they're paying me, you know? And they were like, really? And I'm like, yeah. And then I tell them like, yeah, at the end of it, I got paid like this much. And they were like, holy shit, you know? And I'm like, yeah, shit, fucking please listen to me. This stuff's cool, man. Please. Just you know? No, but you can't tell nobody shit. That's what I always say, and always ends up back. Anytime I'm talking to Web3 with like, you can't tell nobody shit. It's okay. You couldn't tell me shit for a long time too, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm a little out of the game. I'm not as into the minting. I've just been busy. I haven't been as into the minting NFT game. But
I wonder, Darby, if, you know, I guess for people who are listening in, Darby is also a talented tattoo artist. Do you see a future where you could actually sort of like have these like flash tattoos also be sort of like a vehicle to also maybe book a session with you?
Yeah.
If you get this NFT.
When I first started getting into the space, I was booking like you could buy the tattoos as NFTs, and it was like you could just. I mean, I wouldn't give you the. I don't know. I've definitely thought about that. That just like it's just such a fucking. It's just such a. I don't know though. It's hard though, you know, because it's like the whole thing is that it's like tattooing's lucrative, you know. So it's like I'm not as really like. I'm like, oh yeah, I could like sell NFTs as tattoos, but I'm like, or I could just sell tattoos, like it's like I'm already like they're already paying, they're already paying the bills, like. But I do want to. I think that I'm going to make what I do want to do, something that I think like a project that has just with the studio build out has been moved down pretty low on the priority list, but like. I want to make a Juicebox project just for myself, and you can contribute it to fund my lifestyle as a full-time creative. And as a result, you get NFT rewards of songs that I make and also art. So that's like an idea that I am thinking, because you can do that now. That's kind of a newer feature with Juicebox, but you can.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So you can mint. You basically like, because the way they had it before was like. If you contributed, you'd get rewarded tokens of that project. But the tokens have like complete arbitrary value, obviously, so it's like, oh, I donated this much ETH and I got 6 million Darby Trash tokens, it's like, what is, but like, oh, I donated this much ETH and I got like a cool, limited run of an NFT,
something special,
something a little bit more desirable, know. And we started doing that with Forming on the most recent volume, where like you could buy like the record of the performer, and it was like it was a pretty cool function. I'm really excited to like continue growing that, but we basically had like a layout where their PFP was like on like a vinyl sleeve, and then it had like a rec, so it was like,
sick,
you like it was like almost like playing cards or something, like kind of having that collector value of being like, I'm really bummed that we didn't have one for fucking All-Stars, because I'm like, damn, I was like, I want that.
Missed opportunity right there.
I mean, it was just like, I was like, I want All-Stars records, I want that. And even if we have the mixtapes, it'd be cool to find a way to like make those into NFTs too. But like,
that would be cool. Yeah.
I mean, it's just hard. I don't know. I mean, that's one of the things that's it's so funny. It's like, this is a thing. It's like you always talk about people who, it's like people are really afraid to experiment. Like people really, really are. Like when I'm talking about onboarding people and talking about people being afraid, it's like, I'm like, oh no, like we were saying, like, we're not trying to replace live music. We're just trying to experiment and have fun and create more tools to like share art.
Right.
Why don't you? I thought you were a creative. Why wouldn't you want to do this? Like,
no, 1,000%. I think I have those same conversations too with some folks in my crew.
Right.
About, whenever we talk about, Web3 and I think more recently AI, it's like, dude, these are tools, man. And it's like, it's not meant to, well, I don't know about AI. It's not meant to replace something that's like special,
No.
Yeah.
Dude, well, it's crazy because it's like literally like, and we've talked about Web3 and punk and the intersection between that before. It's you might have heard me say this before, but like, dude, like, it is crazy. I'll tell people about Forming and I won't say NFT, crypto, or Web3 or Ethereum. And people are like, that's fucking sick.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then as soon as I say those words, they're like, oh, I'm good. Like, I can't believe it. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm part of like a collective of artists, and we have like a public access style show where we like curate lineups and create an edit that's modeled after old school MTV, and we all pay them hundreds of dollars for their content. And people are like, sign me up. And I'm like, okay, well, first you need to make an Ethereum wallet. They're like, oh, I'm good. I'm like, because I'm like begging my friends. I'm like, please, for the love of God, like, send me a video of you guys practicing, like with your iPhone. Like, I will pay you $600, $700, $800. It's like, please, for the love of God, I want to pay you to make art. And they're like, yeah, man. And then I'm like, okay, make an Ethereum wallet. And they're like, oh, I'm good.
I feel that though, man. I feel that. I feel like, sometimes when I propose these like new experiments to some of my friends, it's sort of like, oh, it's too much. It's like, the UI, I can't understand it. What is this?
Right.
It means and all that stuff. And I find myself like, okay, well, I get it.
Yeah,
No worries, maybe in your own time,
Right. Well,
but
and like I was saying too, you can't tell nobody shit, and no one could tell me shit forever. Yeah, Peace Note and Germs were like, please make NFTs, and I was like, no, I'm good. Then finally, oh my god, I still fucking I missed the ENS drop. Did you get that ENS drop from like a year ago or some shit?
I did.
Yeah, dude. So I missed it because I was like,
no,
but I had just minted right before they announced it, like the day before they announced it, I had minted darbytrash.eth and was all like to Germs and Peace like, yeah, I got it. And they were and Peace was like, her cutoff was in October, and I was like,
oh
no. I was literally like 2 weeks away from like,
oh shit,
from like,
yeah.
Had I listened to them like 2 weeks before that, I would have got that ENS drop, and like, so I just had to like watch my friends like buy tickets to Europe and Costa Rica. And like, it's like pretty much, man, and I had to be like, oh, man, and so, but it's all good.
That was definitely a big deal to a lot of us,
dude. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't think there's been anything really like that since, because that was like, I've been waiting. I've been like, well, I'll catch the next one, and it's like this.
No.
I just get airdrop a bunch of shit tokens that fucking don't do anything.
Oh my god, yeah. Like my wallet, there's just so many like trash tokens in there.
God, I know.
Yeah,
I don't even I barely even look at my OpenSea anymore because I just am like, I have like weird, like I'm like, I want to, I just want to go look at it. I don't even fucking know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, so, we talked about forming, we talked about Lexicon Devils, your experiences, your background, and all these other things. And I wonder on the forming side of things, like, were there any takeaways or lessons that you sort of like have gotten from doing these projects?
From
forming Lexicon Devils?
Oh, yeah.
Are there any takeaways there?
Oh, geez. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's just fucking learning, And like, I mean, all this, I think the biggest thing that, I don't know, like the biggest thing that Web3 has taught me is to value myself as an artist. I feel like it is super common, especially coming from like a punk background, to devalue yourself as an artist, to be like, oh, fuck money, we're anti-capitalist, like, I just do it for the love, baby, it's all good, We're just like, which is sick, but at the same time, it's like, okay, well, like, not everyone makes art, and I do. Therefore, it is like, I am offering like a cultural service to the world that I should be compensated for. And not to be on some like weirdo shit, like give me money, but like straight up, like it's like, I don't know, like tattoos cost money, like if you come, and even like I'm still pretty new to the whole tattoo game. So I have pretty comparative rates, right? Cause I still am like, but at the same time, it's like, I have spent a lot of time like learning this trade, and like, I don't know. It's like, like that's like, the whole thing is that it's like not everyone, like, I don't know, it's like even just like being even being like into punk, it's like not everyone like writes music with their friends and travels around the world playing it, like
that's true.
The fact that me and my homies do is special, and so it's like these are, it's just like, I don't know, it's just there is legitimate like cultural value and significance to that, and like it should be compensated,
Yeah,
and
I'm with you.
And that was a really big takeaway from like Web3 and kicking with like Peace Note and stuff, like, cause I mean, Peace Note's like been pursuing like his professional graphic design career for like years now, even before I think he was embarked on like his Web3 journey, So he was like a big influence of like just being like, he always was like, quit your job, like you're fucking around with these tattoos now. Like, why are you still bartending? Like, you're an artist, make art.
Yeah.
Like
bars
and
bars.
and I was just like, damn, you're right, you know? And so, and it does suck that we live in a society that you have to hop through hoops to find loopholes to monetize on art. Like I would love to just, I would love to be able to just make art, like, and not have to fucking, to just, like, I would love to just make songs. I'd love to just, like, I like legitimately enjoy tattooing. Like I would love to just hang out and do tattoos all day. And I'm grateful that that it's a thing that does cost money, because I found my little loophole. Like I found my, oh, this is a thing that I like doing that costs money. Okay. You know, like, but I have, you know, it just sucks that it's like, you know, I got homies that, you know, it's like, they just are fucking, you know, like it just breaks my heart, right? Like I got some homies who I'm like, man, like your bands are like top tier, like world tier band, but you are creating some of the greatest punk music ever in the world right now. And you want to fucking kill yourself because you have to fucking wash dishes for 8 hours a day. You know, like I'm like, that makes me so sad. Like the talent that these people have. And like, I'm like, man, I wish that I was fucking rich, because then I would just pay you to write punk songs, you know? But like, cause I'm like, cause you're the best at it, you know? Like you literally like, yeah. And I'm like, and you're fucking funny, dude. Like I wish that I would just pay you to fucking hang out and make me laugh straight up, bro. Like you fucking like, you got riffs and you got jokes, man. Like I wish that there was an outlet for you to like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, riff and jokes. Yeah, totally.
Right.
Totally. Yeah, 1,000%. Yeah.
But so, and it just sucks because I don't know. I think that there are routes with the tools that are in Web3 that you can find those loopholes, you know? It just breaks my heart that so many people are like unwilling to experiment and take stabs at them, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But it's also hard. It's hard. I mean, it's a lot of work too. You know, I totally get it, you know?
I think with new tools comes like new possibilities too, and new opportunities. And I think
absolutely,
you know,
absolutely,
Darby, you and your crew sort of like saw that possibility and pursued that opportunity. You know, totally. And I'm really grateful that, you know, however the future looks like for Forming. You know, I think know that there has been like an imprint already, like in the cultural layer, that yes, these people existed, and one thing that I truly appreciated with you guys is that you document, you know, and catalog these events, you know, for them to reside somewhere on the internet, you know,
right,
and that's beautiful.
And I'm thank you. That's sweet. This has been really, conversations like this and support like this has been big morale boosters with the uncertainties of what's happening with Lexicon Devils and Forming. You know, like there are people who have been like, I don't know, people who have expressed those ideas and been like, no, this is important. Like, what can I do to help? You know, and and that's been really, it's been really powerful, because it's really helpful, because it's like, it's making us like, oh yeah, what we're doing is cool. You know, like
it is fucking cool.
It's not, it can feel discouraging when it's like, when it can feel a little discouraging when like, we're like, this is cool. And it has all these cultural touch points. And it's like, okay, we're having like the same attendance as like, not improving, you know, it's just hard, you know, and then it's, and it's, I don't know though, but then it's also like, you don't really care. Cause like, you know, like, first, you don't really care that it's something cause you like believe in it, but then it's like, but then if you believe in it, it's also kind of heartbreaking when it doesn't grow to the level, I don't know, you know,
that's
like,
real.
oh, I don't care. I'm not doing this to grow. I'm just doing this to do it. And then you're like, wow, man, I'm just doing this to do it. And why isn't it growing? Like, does this suck? You know, like you're like, no, it doesn't suck. It's cool. But then it's like, okay, well then, I don't know. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. It's just, it's an interesting time, you know, and I've had barely any time to even like I mean, my fucking whole world's just been build my studio, building out my studio. Like I'm like building out a tattoo shop for myself by myself, and it's like a lot of fucking work,
Work, yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm building like that brand, and I'm putting a lot of time and energy into like that. So it's like, oh shit, I have to also market and brand this like other thing that is like not that is, I don't know. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. It's just figuring it like
no, totally. I think like any project, especially like running your own business, starting your own business, and having to sort of like think about all of these like parts of it, right? Truly, that's a lot. That's a lot. But you know what, Darby, I think I also sort of like really am rooting for you, because I mean, you've shown resourcefulness, you've shown creativity,
100%,
and I think that you will definitely figure it out,
I know we will, whatever it looks like, I mean, everything it's like, I don't know, it's like everything that me and we all do, it all just goes to that DIY filter, like even with just like even everything, I'm like, well, I'll just figure it out.
I feel you on that, dude. Totally.
Totally. But I mean, and it's a fine line though, because it's like you want to value your time and value yourself as an artist, but you also, I don't know. Yeah, it's a fine line. It's like do it for the love, but also value yourself as an artist. Like it's a balance.
It's a balance for sure.
Totally.
Yeah. Darby.
Yes.
Maybe we'll switch over to a lightning round.
Okay.
I have some lightning round questions for you. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions.
Yeah, let's go. I'll keep them quick.
Okay. The last question, you should take your time.
Okay.
Knowing what you know now, what will you tell your younger self?
Oh, fuck. Damn, I'm like, I'll keep it quick. Then you have to
take your time then. Take your time. Yeah. Maybe this is the lightning round.
I don't know. I guess, what would I tell younger self? I mean, how young?
Up to you.
I don't know. Just fucking keep doing what you're doing, man. It'll be all right. You got this. Just keep it up.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. Because literally, like, everything that I've ever done has gotten to me where I am right now. And I feel pretty happy and grateful today. So it's like, everything that's ever happened was to prepare me for what I got going on right now, like the issue, like the what's the word I'm looking for? Like the trials and tribulations of my today world past me was preparing myself to be here right now.
Bars.
And
yeah. Totally. Paint a picture of what the future looks like.
Man, I would love, literally all I want is to build community, be creative, and accumulate resources for myself and my community.
Beautiful.
That's
beautiful.
It.
That's it. Yeah. What are you currently spinning?
Oh, fuck. What have I been listening to? Kiss. I'm a big Kiss fan.
Kiss. What album?
Love Gun, self-titled. Yeah, I can't get enough. I'm like a total just like dad rocker, like straight up. I'm like, yeah, man, Kiss. Y'all ever heard Kiss? That shit rules, dude. So I listen to Kiss, Rocky Erickson. Which, have you ever heard that? Rocky Erickson? He's a really he super. The lore behind him is really interesting too. He was in that psychedelic band 13th Floor Elevators, and then he had like this he had like a psychotic break, or he had like a schizophrenic break and was like institutionalized for a really long time, and
shit.
and he wrote this I don't know. He wrote this incredible record when he was like institutionalized, and like it all really like dark horror imagery that I'm assuming is all just like metaphors for like what the experience was like being institutionalized, you know? And like, yeah, and super interesting. And pretty early too. Like I think it came out in like 72 or something. And he was where he was definitely like a forerunner to like horror rock and like rock with, you know, like way before the Cramps, way before Alice Cooper, way before like, you know, like any people were like singing about horror shit. And he kind of was like, obviously not the only one, right? You know, because there's fucking, you know, blues musicians that were singing about ghosts and stuff, you know, but so yeah, anyway.
Who's this artist again, Darby?
Rocky Erickson.
Rocky Erickson, okay.
Yeah. ROKY and then Erickson. Yeah, there's some other shit too, though. The Fastbacks. My friend just put me onto this band called the Fastbacks yesterday. I was like, a friend they're gonna sing in this new band that I'm doing. They're like, we should cover the Fastbacks because they were also from Seattle. And I was like, okay. And so I listened to it, was like, this rips.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like that's the Fast.
Yeah. The Fastbacks.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, cool.
What's something that brought you joy recently?
Yeah, I don't know, just tattooing. Damn. I like tattooing so much. It makes me so happy, and I'm so mad that I can't do it right now because I have to fucking redo the fucking floor in my studio. It makes me so sad.
Well, know that it's temporary.
Yeah, but it's just, I just, you know, I'm just at the mercy of like, you know, like I gotta buy shit online because it's like, you know, and now it's taking for a while. So it's like, I have to wait till Wednesday to get the fucking ceiling for the floor. And then it's going to take, once I put it down, it's going to take a day to set. And then I got to move all the shit from one side of the room to the other side of the room and then redo it and then do it on the other one. That's going to take another day. So it's like, realistically, I'm not going to be in there booking tattoos, doing tattoos, even fucking tattooing myself. I love tattooing myself. I mean, that causes me a lot of joy. Just like, it's such a good way to learn. I mean, that's how I taught myself, right? I started on my tippy toes and I've worked my way all the way up to like my, like straight up, my legs are tatted as fuck.
I assume you have like stick and pokes.
Yeah. I started doing stick and pokes and I eventually just upgraded to a machine and stuff, you know. And now I use a coil machine. I mean, coil machines, when I was saying the metaphor of the pickup truck versus the Prius, I'm usually making that in references to coil machines versus newer rotary pens. You know, like I'm like, you see this coil machine, man? It's my Chevy pickup. You know, but yeah,
that's great.
Anyway,
yeah. That's
so tattooing, man,
tattooing. Yeah. Okay, last question.
Yeah.
In your own words, what is 21st century creativity like? And if I could give context here a little bit. 21st century creativity is the theme of this podcast.
Okay.
And how I personally define 21st century creativity is a combination of all these different expressions.
Sure,
and I think, Darby, you embody it. You know, different expressions, different ways of creating.
Yeah.
And so yeah, from your point of view, what is 21st century creativity?
Man, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard finding, it's hard. I think the 21st century creativity is new and refreshing, but nostalgic.
Nostalgic. Okay.
Yeah. I feel like what resonates with a lot of people is things that, I don't know. I've just really noticed that things that gain a lot of traction are like things that have a very like nuanced modern spin on something that was very nostalgic. You know, like, dude, I don't know. Have you heard the band RJC, Regional Justice Center?
No, not familiar.
So they're a modern power violence band. They are like full on power violence as fuck. Like, it's like a time capsule. It's like, you literally are like, this is what band sounded like 15 years ago. You know, like he like records it all. Like, and the dude is very intentional with, he like, you know, Will Killingsworth from Orchid records everything, and Mark McCoy does all the artwork, you know, and like, so he's very just like, and I don't know, it's really trippy, but I was like, I feel like they're really popular because like people who like it are either people who are nostalgic, like, man, I haven't seen a blast beat in 15 years, you know, like they're either people who are like nostalgic because they were there the first or the second version of this style of music, or they're younger and they missed it the first time. So they're like, so younger kids will really appeal because like, I've never seen music like this before. And then older heads it appeals to because they're like, I haven't seen music like this before for like 15 years, you know? So it's like, it's really nostalgic for old heads, but also really new and refreshing for younger people. And that's kind of that was kind of a tangent, but I think that like, I don't know, even fucking SoundCloud rap, emo rap, like emo trap rap. Like, what the fuck, dude? Yeah. Like, that is such a uniquely 21st century thing. Like,
I agree. Yeah.
Like, let's take like, you know, let's take like emo sensibilities and like the crooning and like the same kind of like atmosphere, but then put like a trap beat over it. Like, it's like, what the fuck? You know? Like,
and the vocals are auto-tuned, right?
Yeah. And so it's just so interesting because it's like a very specific, nuanced, modernized take on something that's very nostalgic, you know?
Yeah. So I think that's a beautiful way to put it too. Like 21st century creativity is a sort of like putting a modern spin, or maybe like taking inspiration from the past.
Totally.
Offering it into something new and original too at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it just things that gain a lot of, you know, I mean, I don't know. I mean, and things that I like, it definitely has a nostalgic attachment to it. And I just think that also just all definitely like really, you know, I definitely really gravitate towards that like art that I like, you know, too, is kind of, because my whole opinion on most art is that it's like, you know, I don't know, like, for example, I think that you can literally like, you could take a fucking riff. I don't know, like let's just say I was like, I want to start a band that sounds exactly like Judas Priest, you know? I'm not Judas Priest. I'm not Rob Halford. I will never sound like Judas Priest. So even if I literally took a Judas Priest riff and played it note for note, it would sound like me trying to play a Judas Priest riff, which in turn is unique.
Yeah.
Because like, you know?
Yes. Like, because it's going through your filters, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And yeah, dude, and that's like, I don't know, fucking even like all that shit, you know? It's like Ruckus, that song that we did with Chaos, you know, we were like talking and we're like, how should we do this? We literally went on one call and then wrote that song. Like we had we barely talked. We're like, let's do something like, how could we fuse all of our styles? You know? And I was like, oh, well, like, you know, I was like, and then Anatu was like, bro, what if we did something heavy? And I was like, okay, well, like, what heavy? You know, like heavy is a broad term, you know? And he's like, I just like riffs, you know? And I was like, oh, okay, like, and then with like Jen and with like, I was like, damn, like Rage Against the Machine, we could really do kind of like, you know, cause like we could do, I was like, Anatu wants riffs, I play guitar, and Jen's got this like crazy delivery. Like we could totally do something like that. And then like, and I don't think it sounds anything like Rage Against the Machine, right? But it's definitely
absolutely
like,
not. Yeah.
But it's definitely like there, you know? I was like, Jen was like, okay, well, like, you know, it's going to be half in English, half in Spanish, like reggaeton's like my heart, you know? And I was like, reggaeton, Rage Against the Machine, let's go, baby. Like, it's fucking sick, you know?
Yeah, definitely reggaeton against the machine. Yeah, totally.
God. It's just, but even in itself, like that was like just going through my filter, you know, like everything. And I feel like that's like the most thing. If you allow yourself to put your own artistic interpretation of it, like it's going to be unique no matter what you do. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. 1,000% agree, dude. That, well put and beautiful put too.
Thanks.
Darby.
Hope I didn't go too long on my tangent.
No. This is a free-flowing conversation, so we can go on as we like. I wanted to respect your time and very much grateful for you.
Totally. Yeah. Thank you. I was so honored that you asked. I was flattered. I was like, fuck yeah, dude, let's go, you know?
Of course. Yeah, man.
And this is, like I said, this is helpful. I think that this is going to, you know, it's good. It's good to hear someone just be like, hey, forming's cool, man. You know, like that feels good, you know, to be like, oh, okay. Yeah. Like, yeah, it's just funny. It's funny because it's like, there's like this one thing that was like Taco Bell sponsoring metaverse party, you know, and we were like, whoa. But then we're like, I'm broke, man. Like, give me some of that, you know,
like Taco Bell money.
Yeah. Bro, I would love to have some Taco Bell money. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
You know, and like, and just fucking make it rain on all the punk homies, you know. Like, I'm like, check under your seat. You get $100. You get $100. Like, dude, this guy kicked down the fucking homies that got riffs and jokes, you know, some fucking skrill. God. Yeah. Well, anyway.
Well, Darby, thanks again, man. It's truly
totally
a pleasure, you know, hanging out with you. And also, you know, I just want to give a shout out to people who tuned in the chats. Thank you all for tuning in to CONVO.
Thanks for listening, everyone, to fucking my crazy ass.
Well, yeah, man. Thank you again. And
Thank you.
Yeah, I hope that you and everyone in the chats have a wonderful weekend. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the internet.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much. Bye. I'll see you soon.
Bye.